Okay, so here's a quick demonstration of some new features. What I'm toggling on the ground right now is a navigation mesh. All the vertexes that were loaded in red are marked as walkable, and anything blue is not. And this little white marker in front of me is just responding to a point that's held out in front of the camera or the player, a virtual point, and it tries to find the closest node to that actual invisible pivot. You'll see that it will not go anywhere that's blue because as far as the navigation mesh is concerned, blue does not even exist, so it can't be walked on. I'm hoping this will result in a system that will allow us to take that robot's movements. Right now the robot only moves by distance triggers, so if you're close enough for him to start up, see you, and move, then he'll come towards you, and he stops at about 3 or 4 units away. But he can still get stuck behind obstacles, like in areas like this. I'll just quickly do here. He's going to walk over here, get in the corner, and if I get out and around this quick enough, he's stuck in that corner. He'll never get out of that. Now, what you could do there is set up a timer where it'll know that it was in movement mode and not getting any distance change, would shut down from direct simple range check and go on to something like A-star pathfinding, which I'm going to try and set up some basic A-star pathfinding so that the robot will be using these little nodes. And then you can start having the robot hunt you down, which of course then means you can start putting weapons, want that on. You can just see the collision cage around the robot here, and I have that just faintly showing to help me in my debugging phase, but when we get a little bit further along, that sort of ghostly mesh around the robot will go away, and possibly use it to flash just as a shield or something like that. Here the robot only responds to bullet hits by flashing. Bullets hit anything else in the level that has a collision mesh on it and creates a bullet hole. Bullet hole is designed more to work with concrete than wood and stuff like that. I suppose like Ando's one, I could create different types of holes based on the material hit. But that's kind of out of the scope of the test so far. Anyhow, we have a character controller that has collision. As you can see, player can't walk through walls or that either. You can jump on top of stuff and go places. Now the interesting thing is that little node follower is not altitude aware, and it cannot get any closer than the closest red node. It cannot go. It can't go anywhere that there's blue, because that simply just doesn't exist for the collision mesh. So that was actually an interesting look. I never thought to see what it would do from up here. But as you can see, the robot, he can only follow by distance, and see, he's trying to get to me. Now in this case, pathfinding is never going to let that... Oh, I'm actually standing on top of him. That's pretty funny. The robot is never going to be able to get on top of stuff, because everything that's a wall or a fixture has been given a blue vertex color in the navigation mesh, which means not walkable. I suppose I could create a second color which would mark stairs and portals into another floor, but that's also a little bit out of the scope of this at the moment. Maybe later, if I get more involved and want to try doing a multi-level or multi-deck shooter test, and if there's enough interest I might get into that. The robot originally was attached to a controller where I could turn him and force him to walk around. Here I'm using some keyboard keys. Oh, where'd he go? To try and steer him, but all he'll do right now, as soon as I let him go, he'll engage in animation, the generic waddle or walk animation that was on the mesh. And that mesh comes from OpenGameArts off the top of my head, I do believe. OpenGameArt.org. If I'm correct on that, I'll have to double check that. I usually just call it OGA. Was a Creative Commons Zero mesh that I just simply changed some of the keys into an extra animation track. So he has the static pose, and he has his sort of waddle loaded into track 1, and if he's in motion it plays track 1. Later, of course, based on distance, I could isolate his run frames and put that in track 2 so he'd know when to run based on distance. But coming up next is going to be getting this red mesh, which I'll just cycle here. Hopefully you can see that. I'll just zoom out because the lines become more apparent when you get further away. I'm just jumping up here. You can see the blue haze in the areas near where they can't walk. I'd like to get him working on that and get the A-star pathfinding working with those nodes. So anyhow, thanks for watching, and hopefully in the next video I have A-star pathfinding working.